Scaffold safety begins with proper design and construction. To be safe, scaffolds must meet specifications designed to provide adequate support and help protect workers from fall hazards. Just as important, however, are procedures for safe use. It's essential that everyone who performs work on scaffolds knows these procedures and follows them carefully. Following safe work practices in any job is critical, but when working on scaffolds, it could be a matter of life or death. Today we're going to talk about some of the more important safe work practices that, if followed properly, will help ensure your safety while performing work on scaffolds. Before starting work, make sure you're familiar with the maximum intended load and load carrying capacities of the scaffold being used. Avoid loading scaffolds and scaffold components in excess of their maximum intended loads or rated capacities, whichever is less. Inspect scaffolds for visual defects prior to use. Safety regulations state that this inspection must be conducted by a competent person before every work shift and after any incident that may have affected the structural integrity. If that person finds any part that is damaged or weakened below the applicable strength provisions, the part must be immediately repaired, replaced, or removed from service. Make sure there is adequate clearance between scaffolds and power lines. Adequate clearance must also be allowed for any conductive material handled while working on scaffolds. For insulated lines, the minimum distances are 3 feet for voltage less than 300 volts, 10 feet for 300 volts to 50 kilovolts, and 10 feet plus 4/10 of an inch for each kilovolt over 50 kilovolts, or 2 times the length of the line insulator, but never less than 10 feet. For uninsulated lines, the minimum distances are 10 feet for voltage less than 50 kilovolts, and 10 feet plus 4/10 of an inch for each kilovolt over 50 kilovolts, or 2 times the length of the line insulator, but never less than 10 feet. Avoid erecting, moving, dismantling, or altering a scaffold unless you are directed to do so and supervised by a competent person qualified in scaffold erection, moving, dismantling, or alteration. Keep scaffold platforms clear of debris or slippery materials. Avoid using makeshift devices or items such as boxes or barrels to increase the working height of an employee. Also, avoid using ladders on scaffolds. Ladders are allowed on large area scaffolds only if special criteria for securing and stabilizing them are met. Avoid working during storms or high winds or on snow and ice-covered platforms unless the conditions have been determined by a competent person to be safe. Make sure you have adequate fall protection when working on upper levels of scaffolds. Guardrails or personal fall arrest systems are required when employees are working on a supported scaffold more than 10 feet above a lower level. The top edge height of guardrails must be between 36 and 45 inches above the platform surface. In the future, the top edge height of guardrails must be between 38 and 45 inches above the platform surface. Cross braces may be used as a substitute for either a top rail or a mid rail where specified criteria are followed, but not in lieu of an entire guardrail system and only on the intermediate levels. When working on scaffolds, take steps to protect yourself and your coworkers from falling objects. Always wear a hard hat when working on or in the vicinity of scaffolds. Where there is a danger of tools, material, or equipment falling from a scaffold and striking employees below, you must either install barricades to prohibit employees from entering the hazard areas, install tow boards, screens, or guardrail systems along the edges of platforms, or erect debris nets, catch platforms, or canopy structures to contain or deflect the falling objects. When potential falling objects are too large or heavy, place them away from the surface edge of platforms and secure them as necessary to prevent falling. Scaffold accidents do not have to happen. Before you perform work on any scaffold, make sure you know the hazards and understand the procedures to control or minimize those hazards. This is James Drury, reminding you to take care and be safe.